definitely the modern day Diogenes. You are a true archetype. You're an inheritor of a true important philosophical archetype. That's what I believe. You're wrong on quantum mechanics, but you are learning.
Whatever. So are you, but your verbiage is getting better. So whatever. Yeah, sorry for the rest of
I
the
agree. I agree. I'm learning from you, or I wouldn't talk to you. Absolutely. I'm in this for selfish reasons.
I mean, I know this sounds inane, but this is one of these subjects. This is one of these little scapegoat subjects for me. So that's why it's a little bit of a passion for me, because a lot of this phantasmagorical theory is based on this quantum loophole, but somehow it creates this singularity possibility where we're going to actually fuck ourselves in the 17th dimension. And, it just, whatever. So, I mean, I have to, it's sort of important philosophically, even though it sounds kind of inane and stupid, it really is relevant.
Yeah, I don't think the many worlds
This
theory
is gonna get me
is
free drugs. That's what I want to do.
very interesting or valid. Or
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, everybody's looking for ways to convert reality into some kind of phantasmagorical mystery ride. I'm just saying, this is quantum mechanics is one of the things to ride in. I mean, they're turning that into a unicorn making machine.
Wait, even Newtonian mechanics is pretty weird, Gary. I mean, the fact that you would move forever if you're in space, I mean, by common sense, things always come to rest. But if you threw an arrow in space, it would likely go millions of years or forever before it hit something.
Yeah, forever. Do we
Well, yeah,
really know the universe
before it
ends?
hits something is the key word there. Right, so it's going to eventually hit some stuff, and it's going to hit stuff before it gets there. So even
But I mean, that's kind of weird that things keep moving.
But yeah, see, that never bothered me. It never seemed kind of weird to me when they pointed out what friction was, and I said, okay, yeah, so you take away friction, then something can do what it's doing forever. I get it. It didn't seem that weird to
That
me.
a feather would fall as fast as a brick. That's weird.
I think I
Well,
hit
then a
a,
top would spin forever. Yeah, so no problem. Why not? Yeah, good, fine.
I think I hit a wall of assholes that's probably been to the edge of the universe. We should ask him.
Ironically, a top has internal friction, so it wouldn't. It would radiate heat and slow down, oddly. Too bad. But
I don't think it
superconducting
would.
currents will.
I'm not too sure it would in space, but whatever.
Well,
and
it might last the life of the universe, but there are internal stresses that create heat, which spends energy, which would slow it down. But
Granted, whatever. I mean, obviously there's masses moving at different speeds, which are going to cause whatever ripping effects within the atomic structure. I'll concede that point.
and then, Dan, do you think protesting is important? Is important?
Nope.
about healthcare.
No. The way to protest is to fly a plane into a building. That's the only way that works. All the rest of these protests are kind of lame by comparison.
I just want to say to the FBI, I'm not a part of this. But anyway, Gary, what about the healthcare plan? What do you think of that?
Well, as I read it, it sounds pretty much like you're going to rob from the poor to pay for the poor's health care. So, really good idea. Let's force a guy who can't afford health insurance to pay for health insurance, and then we'll take a little bit of health insurance away from the really poor people, and that's how we'll finance giving people more health care. And it just seems pretty bogus.
What about the civil rights protests?
Yeah, whatever. I
And
mean,
what,
there was enough people. Those protests was just, like I said, you need a cause where you can get motivate.
There's no public option, right?
No public option.
Yeah, there's no, without a
Well,
public
in
option, the
Hawaii,
whole thing is a piece of crap.
Hawaii has a public
Forcing
option.
people to buy.
That was the minimal thing, I thought. Even if it was crap, if it had that, you could improve it. But without that, it's just another thing like Labor Day instead of May Day.
Yeah, it's like pay the insurance companies some more money, they get more clients. So how can they possibly lose? They get more customers, and at gunpoint, and everybody's obliged to be insured for shit they don't want. Great. I mean, that's just stupid to me. I mean, it should have had a system in where you could. I mean, I just want the basics. I just want the scrape me off the road. If I'm bleeding and writhing in pain on the road, well, at least have the decency to give me a shot of morphine and take me off the road. That's
Well, ironically, wait, Gary, I bet you agree with me in that To have that basic health care, the other basic thing is just regular checkups. You know, the cheap kind, it costs them just a half an hour or 15 minutes of the doctor's time, you know, $50, and they let you get regular checkups. Then they only have to scrape you off the road, and that's it, because if you get cancer, they take it out early, and all these cheap $300, $500 procedures.
I mean, they definitely should be, you know, people should get tested and blood tests and that stuff, but there's, you know, it's always going to go too far, and everybody's entitled to 79,000 MRIs, and then they're entitled to 68.
The thing is, you know, they worry about...
It just goes way too far.
You know, I've known a few hypochondriacs, but I mean, they're pretty rare. Most people don't want to go to the doctor, even if they should, and I just don't think people will overuse the ability to do preventative medicine. You'll actually have to, you know, like market, please come get tested so that we can fix it when it's only a few $1,000 or $100.
You know what else I would have really liked, though, is if they would have had an income-based copay. You know, where you pay a copay based, you know, and based on how much your income.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, to me, that would.
Hey, you know what? I love those countries. I love those countries that do like traffic tickets based on your income. Have you ever seen those? Like there was one, I forget what country it is and stuff, but where the guy had to pay like a $20,000 speeding ticket because, you know, it would have been just like the ordinary 150 for an American. For an ordinary American, but he was made so much money that it's scaled up. I mean, I totally am into that. Why not? For social services.
Don't you live in Hawaii? Isn't it like totally socialized medicine there? How long you live there? Well, they backed off of the totally socialized. It's still better than most states, but they actually did have a socialized. Like I came here unemployed and I used it. I went to the clinics and stuff for, you know, because I was unemployed 4 months. Like a copay,
but,
like a copay or what?
Nope, it was totally free, but, you know, it was a little second rate, and it still is. But it's good enough, and as far as a minimum, I think it's pretty good still. But they did back off after we got the Republican governor.
The way it is now, though, is that employers have to give health care to people who work more than part-time. And so a lot of people here don't hire people more than Hey.
Yeah, well that always.
I always hate when they turn everything into an employer's obligation.
Because those obligations always get passed on to the consumer, or they end up getting paid by the employees eventually. So to me, they never tax the people who are making the money. They just end up the businesses. You can't tax a business. It doesn't fucking work. You can only tax the people pulling money out of the business, but there's just no point in taxing the business because they will just tax the business.
No, but that's the problem, Gary, that's the problem. We can, because it's sort of arbitrary. You can say, you know how they say if you tax a business, they just pass it on to the customer. Well, if you tax the customer, he passes it on to his employer.
I'm not for consumption taxes, and so that doesn't work. I'm for income taxes. I'm just saying you don't have a progressive tax unless you go at it progressively. And taxing business is not a progressive tax; it's a regressive tax. The people more likely to pay it are poor consumers. You know, the people who consume the most of their income.
Rich people save most.
Well, you know what, that's interesting. Why not a consumption tax? I often think a sales tax would be great. You know, rich people buy a lot more stuff and it's naturally progressive.
Oh, but that's the point.
And people that save their money or invested it, you know, wouldn't pay as much tax.
But that's the point.
People don't spend most of their money. Most of their money goes back into income generating commodities, you know, purchases. So they're not, you know, unless you put the tax on their purchase of a stock commodity or something, you're not going to get to their money.
What about
you're not going to get to their money. You're going to get richer.
What about a flat income tax? See, this is, Sarah and I tend to agree. But what about a flat income tax with also a sales tax? A flat sales tax. That, you know, real simple.
That's